हर सतनाम करता पुरख निरभਉ निर्वैर अकाल मूरत अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक भी सच। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Before I begin saying anything else, all of our hearts go out to those brothers and sisters of ours in Kabul, in Afghanistan, at this moment that are dealing with such a situation. This is a reminder to all of us here in the Khalsa Panth that one Gursikh's issue, whether it be on the other side of the world, it's not just their issue. This issue is everybody's. It's the entire Panths. Not only the Panths, this is the entire world's. And one thing that I would like to clarify before anything else is this, that some of my best friends, they belong to the Islamic faith. My high school best friend was Muslim. This is not a battle between religion. This is not a battle between dharm, because we all believe in one Akal Purkh, one Allah. True unifying love. But there are some instances when things get diverted from that. That becomes a challenge. Does history repeat itself? Yes, it does. Because if we look at the situation happening in Afghanistan, in Kabul today, it's very similar to what was happening during the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Paatshah and Aurangzeb, the emperor who came and tried to attack. I was listening to something on the news where a lady from a university in Afghanistan, she was explaining from the Department of Peace. She was explaining that what was happening here in this country is political, between who's going to become the caliphate, who's going to take rule of this area, between one party, the Islamic State, and the other party, the Taliban. Now, I don't have enough information to tell any of you about any of this, but one thing is for sure, when I look into history, this is the same things that have happened even in the Islamic faith. And those that belong to the Shia community, they can relate to this very well, because it was the conflict between who is going to be the ruler that caused the martyrdom of Hussein and his followers. It is that cause. This has nothing to do with faith, this is ignorance. When taking the lives of innocents, when doing injustice and oppression and tyranny upon others. Now this lady is saying that the goal may be to oppress all minorities in that area. This was happening all throughout history. This is why Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Paatshah, they stood up. This is why Guru Hargobind Sahib Sache Paatshah, Dol talwaran baddiyan ek miri di ek piri di. They took on two swords, not one sword like any soldier or any king. They took on two. One being the temporal sword, one being the spiritual sword. With true spirituality and true grounding, we not only connect to Akal Purkh, like in the previous videos we've been speaking about spirituality, detaching from the world, getting rid of anxiety and panic and all of these things, yes. But now let's discuss the temporal sword, the practical sword, where you use your grounding and you go out into the world and you help those. Everybody has the right to food and freedom. That is the mission of the Khalsa. Today more than ever is a time for the Khalsa to put that into practice, for the world to put that into practice. 25 people killed. Gunman shooting in, some saying there's a bomber in there. But to attack a place of worship, any place of worship, Pyareo, that is an oppression. That is something that not only affects just the Sikh faith, but all other areas, all minorities in that area as well. Now, if we look at this situation and we look at it from the perspective of us sitting abroad, not in the area of Afghanistan or Kabul, we take this as a lesson to ourselves to be following the footsteps of Puratan Gursikhs, of older Gursikhs in the times of the late 1700s, when they went through great massacres, the early 1700s, when thousands were being killed a day. Yes, we had 25 of our brothers and sisters become Shaheed, become martyrs in that temple of Shri Guru Har Rai Sahib's temple in Kabul. But thousands and thousands of this have happened in history. The purpose of me speaking and making this video is not to have a reaction like people do on YouTube, is let's do a reaction video, this is my response to it. No. This is a reminder for us to follow in the footsteps of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Pacha, the footsteps of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Sache Pacha, the footsteps of Guru Nanak Dev Ji as Sikhs. Following these footsteps, we are to always be forever ready. Always stay in states of Chardi Kala and high spirits, no matter what the situation is. Today is also the day of the Shaheedi of Bhai Subeg Singh and Bhai Shahbaz Singh. These Gursikhs became Shaheed in the early 1700s for the same reason. For either you convert or we're going to kill you. Subeg Singh and Shahbaz Singh, father and son during that time, put upon the wrong allegations, saying that you slandered the faith. That's why you were going to be oppressed. They took Subeg Singh, who was an officer in the time, somebody who was to intermediate between the Khalsa Fauj, the army of the Khalsa that was living in the jungles at the time, and Zakaria Khan, who was the governor there. And both of them put on wheels and go into the states of Chardi Kala. Yes, there is the practical reason why we need to be addressing this situation. Either we take those Gursikhs out of that area where there is no freedom, where there is oppression against these minorities, because sometimes when we look into Puratan Granths, older Granths as well, about Rajniti, about politics, they say the place where you cannot have any freedom to speak or learn or move or do any of these things, it's better to leave that place and then strengthen yourselves and then move on back to fight that injustice. The other side of things are this, that those Gursikhs that are there in Kabul, they are protectors of those lands that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sache Pacha. They've been taking care of those asthans, those areas. And of course, those Gursikhs that have gone through so much already in the past. This is not something new today. This has been happening for so long before. My brother Manmeet Singh, who's here from my own city, he spent years of his life trying to bring in these Sikhs from Afghanistan into these other countries like North America, into the UK, into European countries. Now that seva is taken on by other Gursikhs. But the hearts of those Gursikhs that are there in that area, wanting to take care of that land, the history of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we can only salute them. We can only be proud of them for such a great sacrifice, even if they're willing to do it throughout this. The Khalsa Panth is united. The Khalsa Panth, no matter what the issues are, it could be, we fight over so many little silly things, that that person said this to me and this and that. Pyareo, I encourage you, do not get into these clickbait arguments on YouTube and WhatsApp and this and that. Oh, look, this is my challenge to that pracharak, my challenge. That's so silly. In fact, it's shameful for the Khalsa Panth to be fighting over that when there are actual issues like this going on. This is why the Khalsa Panth should be always tiyar bar tiyar. Do the Khalsa Panth at the moment have a fauj that we can say that we are going to go and fight these areas? Unfortunately, at the moment we don't. But we do have the spirit, and in history, there was times when there was not a Khalsa army, a party, a group that is spiritually grounded, that is politically just, going out to help everyone in the world, regardless of any religion, caste, any faith, any belief, regardless of all of these things. There was a time when all of that stuff became hidden. But Pyareo, if we are going through that time again, then it's time to bring that out again. It's time to use this spirit to go out and help these Gursikhs. This is just in one country, one area. But this could be happening all across the world in the time coming in the future. And it's happening now, it's been happening in the past. That is what it truly means. And when we look, if there is, a group, if there are groups that are using, these political schemes to maybe make a state that's just fully one belief of Sunni or whatever it may be. Like I said again, this has nothing to do with the faith. Well, some of my best friends, they belong to the Islamic faith, and we can discuss things about religion, about Allah, about God to such depth that actually, to be honest, I can't even do with most of my Punjabi relatives. One of my friends, I remember, in the middle of an exam, he would leave his exam, give it to the examiner and say that, give me 10-15 minutes, I just need to go and read my nawaz. And he would go sit in the corner, and he would sit there and he would read his nawaz, and I would look at it and I would say, look how faithful he is. Look how much his love is towards Allah, towards his belief, towards God, that it doesn't matter about his practical exams and this, and he puts that to the side, finishes it, comes back and writes the exam. I salute that. I respect that. But when there's tyranny, when there's injustice, even Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Paatshah, their 4 sons, they became Shaheed. They became martyrs. Thousands battled against this injustice. Not because for themselves, no. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sache Paatshah, the 9th Guru of the Sikhs, their body was sacrificed, cut into bits in the city of Delhi. Why? Not for themselves. No, this is for another faith, another group, the Kashmiri Pandits, the Kashmiri Hindus. Until we can't realize that we're all one blood, we're all just here to worship Akal Purkh, to dive into divinity, to experience Akal Purkh, the true bliss of life. Until we can realize that, then we won't, if we don't realize that, then we won't be able to, tackle issues like this. Then the injustice is always going to prevail. This is what it means. Even Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Paatshah, they mention in their Zafarnama that na sazo, na bazo, na fauzo, na farsh. That I don't have a throne anymore. I don't have a horse anymore. I don't have hawks anymore. I don't have an army anymore. Aurangzeb may, in the practical eye, the person that might be looking from the third perspective, they might say that Aurangzeb won the battle because Guru Gobind Singh Ji had to leave their Qila, they had to leave their fort. Their 4 sons became Shaheed. Somebody would say that that's a loss of battle. But no. Guru Gobind Singh Ji says in the Zafarnama, which literally means the letter of victory. They said that I've won this battle. You've lost. You have everything. You have a palace. You have horses. You have an army. But there's one thing that you don't have. That's compassion. If you don't have compassion, all of this is meaningless. You can become a righteous ruler of the Islamic State, of a country. It doesn't matter. But if you don't have compassion, all of that means nothing. If you're becoming an oppressor. Aurangzeb, the ruler, the emperor, he was very well learned in Islam. He was very well learned in the Quran. He had all 114 surahs memorized. But there's one thing he didn't have, and that was compassion. Guru Gobind Singh Ji encouraged the Muslims, the Islam faith, to go dive deeper into the Quran. Go and learn compassion and love from Allah. Be truthful to your nawaz that you read. Read it with love. Express your love to Allah. Submit to God fully. See the reflection of God inside of each and every other person, Pyareo. Now, that issue to put to one side, if we're calling ourselves the defenders of faith, this is attack, which happened to be upon our own faith in Afghanistan, which is horrendous. But what if this happened to somebody else, another faith? Would we share videos? Would we do all of these things? Would we react in the same way? A true Khalsa would. And today we need to bring that together. We need to state Tiyar Bar Tiyar. In fact, Gurdwara in itself, during the times of Guru Sahibs, they were Tiyar Bar Tiyar. And we've had these discussions during the time when the Wisconsin shooting happened in the US. When a mosque was attacked, when a Jewish place of worship, a synagogue was attacked. When all of these things happened, the constant thing was said that why, the Khalsa Panth said it, that why is a place of worship not able to defend itself? It has every right. Now, today we have these discussions within the Guru Sikhs, oh, but this is according to the law, we fight it according to the law, and we fight it according to the pen. Yes, that's all true. But my question is to you, that Guru Gobind Singh Ji, he initially didn't look upon Aurangzeb and he said, well, this is your policy and we're going to have to change your law according to that. No, Aurangzeb was an oppressor. Guru Gobind Singh Ji created a military but the person that's using it, they have the ability to use that for justice or tyranny. Now somebody say, well, get rid of all weapons, that's the answer. Well, how would you explain what just happened in Afghanistan today? If this is removed, then the injustice has an easy path to prevail. It's like saying to the US government, to say to the Indian government, that we're a country of peace, of freedom, of liberty. Now we need no more army anymore. As soon as the US Army, the Russian Army, the British Army, the Canadian Army, the Indian Army, any army says, all right, we're going home, guess what? Somebody's going to jump into their borders right away. It's like saying to all the policemen in every country, saying, you know what? After today, everybody go home. There's no need for you anymore. Then guess what? The criminals are going to do their thing anyway. In order to maintain order in this life, because this creation of this world, it is between darkness and light. In order to have true worshipping, true love, in order to praise those beloveds of Akal Purkh, of God, of Allah, we compare this to the ones that are the opposite to that. The ones that are ignorant, the ones that are not faithful, the ones that are living in sin and vice, living in anger and hatred. We compare them, and when we look at the true qualities of God within the devotees of God, and we say, you know what, compared to this is pious. It's a comparison game. We look at that and we say, okay, they're going to use their ignorance to do their own thing anyway. We're going to try to see the light of Akal Purkh through them, and we're going to try to educate them. We're going to still love them with a compassion. But loving that type of mentality with compassion and letting it step on you, letting it do injustice to you, that is not righteous either. This is what the Guru's teaching is. Instead, you defend yourself. That is righteousness. You defend yourself and you defend others as well. That is what the Sikhya of Guru Sahib Sache Pacha is, to always be Tiyar Bar Tiyar, to always be stayed in happiness. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Pacha, they give us the Sikhya through all of these Barnis. of Guru Gobind Singh Ji to go into the state of Bir Ras, of fighting spirit. Be courageous, be righteous, go out and defend others. And if it's for this righteousness, it should be to even give your own head for somebody else's right to live, for somebody else's right to food and freedom. Now, if we look at this entire situation, not just today, but in the past, and maybe in the future as well, don't think that, oh, it's happened today and it's going to be over. Guru Sahib Sache Paatshah, they tell us, Kood ne kutte nanaka odak sach rahi. That in this world, to translate that, all falsehood is going to deteriorate into dust. Kood ne kutte nanaka. It's going to turn into dust. It's going to die one day. Everything that's in falsehood. But there's one thing that's going to remain true. Odak sach rahi. Those that are living in truth. Those that submit to truth. Those that are becoming the form of truth. Odak sach rahi. The truth will prevail. Falsehood will all deteriorate. That is the way the world will be headed. You can say today that, you know what, the government, this and that, it's so unjust, why is it happening like this? But Pyareo, don't lose faith. Don't become discouraged by this. In fact, use this to become more truthful. Because in this age of Kal Yug, in this dark age, the value to those that are righteousness, they get greater fruits out of it. If we look back, maybe back in the day, if we look into different philosophies, that when the world was way more righteous, then you would have to do more bhakti, you would have to do more service, you have to have more devotion and meditation, loving worship to get fruits, to fix your karma, to direct your karma in the right way, to be able to merge with God. But in today's age, in such a dark age, guess what? That gets diluted. It gets focused upon you. You are able to get more of God's blessings. If there are billions of people that are unjust, and there's a few that are living in justice, that are fighting for the truth, they're going to be blessed. And Pyareo, in this day, if we're commemorating the day of Subheg Singh and Bhai Shahbaz Singh, the father and son who gave their life against this injustice, then Pyareo, keep this in mind, that we can live according to that as well. We'll touch more upon their history, more about their itihas and history maybe tomorrow. But for today, let's focus on different ways to unite and focus our energy on these types of things. Again, once again, my condolences, our love goes out to those brothers and sisters of ours in Kabul, in Afghanistan. The Guru's house in one place is ours everywhere across the world. Any place of worship across the world, that is an issue of the Khalsa Panth. As a Gursikh, devoted to our Guru. It doesn't matter where it is. And we are going to be focusing our energy on that. This is my binti, my request to all Gursikhs, everyone that might be listening to this, and for everyone also, not just to focus their energy on this issue. You can only tackle these issues if you are in a grounded place, if you have that blessing of God upon you. So that's why dive deep within yourself, meditate in God's name, and do ardas, do bhakti, do japji sahib, do chaupai sahib, for the state of the world, for the Gursikhs that are in Kabul. To end it off, we do this ardas we say this in ardas as Gursikhs all the time, that those that were peeled alive, hung upside down, those children that were thrown up into the air and their spears landed, the children landed upon the spears, those people that were killed upon charkharis, those people that fought in battles, those mothers that had their children cut up in front of them, turned into necklaces, into garlands and put around their necks. These were the states that the Guru Sikhs have gone through. But if we compare it, this is very minor. But not to say that this is to be taken minor. The Guru Sikhs remain in Chardi Kala through difficult times. And we're going to challenge us in the same way, and we're going to tackle it and deal with it with the same states of Chardi Kala, of high spirits, that we have been throughout history. Let's relive that. Inniyan bentiyan parwan karniya, while talking, while speaking. If I've hurt anybody's heart, if I've said anything wrong, please have it in your heart to forgive me. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.